Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So my name is Paulo and today we're going to be closing then on the Working Abroad series. Okay, if you did miss out on the previous ones, I'm going to drop them on the comments below. Feel free to check them out or click here. So previously we went to and check out the UK, the Netherlands, Spain and Portugal. Okay, on those videos you're going to check out everything that you need to know in order for you to actually to move abroad to those specific countries. So the fifth and last country that I lived and worked on is actually one country that most people would not consider as the country to go to in order to actually to get the best quality of life, the best salary, evolution, professionally speaking and personal speaking, but I'm gonna prove you otherwise. Okay, so stick around to know more. What is it that you need to consider and move to Belgium straight away. Okay, so what is this about? So we're going to be focusing then on the job market, okay, on taxes, and essentially we're going to be talking about the cost of living as well. What is it that you can actually expect to pay, and if it's high or not in Belgium. Okay, so let's start then with the job market. Starting with an indicator that is always a good starting point, we're going to be talking about unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate in Belgium is roughly 5.5–6% in average since 1999 up to 2020. So this is already underlining the fact that it has to be a strong economy. Aside from that, also, if you look into the different pillars of the Belgian economy, you're going to come across with things such as pharma, the third biggest in Europe. Also, it's like, for instance, beer. It has the biggest company in the world of beer. Okay. Also, chocolate is very strong. It's a powerhouse in terms of the diamonds trading. Also, everything that has to do with the transformation of minerals as well. Belgium is quite strong. Okay, so in a nutshell, it has a kind of a diverse kind of economy. Okay, and that of course will allow for you to come across with very good proposals in terms of job. And also, if you have the skill sets and the talents for it, I would say go for it. Okay. Also, the other thing that you need to take into consideration that is quite important in Belgium is although you have different, let's say, potential possibilities in terms of the job market, people will say to me, hey Paul, that's all good, all fine, but actually the taxes in Belgium are a killer. And that is correct. Okay, so Belgium has one of the highest taxes across the globe. That is true, but also on the flip side, you're gonna get a lot for your money. Okay, and why? Because everything else is paid by the state. So essentially, Belgium is a social state. Okay, so like school is supported by the state, healthcare, it's top notch and supported by the state. So essentially, you don't pay anything. Okay, so all of that is tremendously important for your cost of living as well. And although the taxes are high, then you have that as a comparison. To give you a bit more examples of the cost of living, like for instance, I'm going to give you the example of the fact that most likely you will have children or you already had, and you are looking for a kindergarten. So for instance, going to give you the example of the Belgium. So in Belgium, I used to pay roughly 584, and this was already per child per month, but this was already a top-notch kind of kindergarten. Okay, the UK. Let's go into the UK. £1,300 a month. Okay, so let's go to the Netherlands, roughly 930 or 1,000 I was paying a month as well. So very expensive. And for instance, you may say, Paul, all good, but if you compare that to Portugal and Spain, how would that rank? Actually, it will be the same or even lower. Okay, so for instance, here when I arrived and just live in Barcelona in Spain, my kindergarten was actually higher in terms of cost. Okay, so this gives you a bit of a perspective on what is it that you should expect in terms of cost of living. Okay, so that's it, guys, for this first reason. So stick around for reason number 2. So let's go then for reason number two. So what is this about? So essentially here we're going to be talking about education, healthcare, and also multiculturalism. Okay, why all of this is important for you? It's important because you need to settle. Okay, so let's start then with education. Okay, in case you are going to study or actually you are coming as a specialized person, let's say in terms of profession, and you are looking to actually to go beyond and take an MBA or even a master or a PhD. Okay, so Belgium has one of the best universities that you can ever come across. Okay, really good in terms of the level of the personnel that actually is there, the teachers, let's say the level of education is really good. But aside from that, one thing that is really important to share is really cheap. Okay, and by cheap I mean, for instance, if you'd compare it, let's say, to the UK, you will have a stroke. Between brackets, let me put this into numbers. So like for instance in Belgium you will pay for a tuition, if you're going to go for a bachelor, roughly around 500 euros. Could be like on some cases it will go up to 1,000, or even a bit more, on some cases 3,000, 4,000. It will depend a bit on the course, but either way it's really cheap. For instance, if I take the example of the UK, prepare yourself, it's like really expensive. So you are talking about actually spending at the end of your master roughly between 30 up to 50 or even more thousand pounds. Okay, so take that into perspective. Better than this, I would say only Germany, where it's essentially for free and you will not pay anything else. So main things actually to take into consideration here is the level is quite good. Also, meaning in terms of costs, the costs are quite low. Okay, and you are positive that you, at the end of it, you're going to take a very good output, being with a good level of education. So let's talk about then healthcare. Healthcare is another point that is really strong in Belgium. Okay, I would say that most likely Belgium is one of the countries where I felt that the healthcare was at a different level. Okay, I spoke about it, the NHS, okay, on a previous video, because I worked and lived in the UK. But actually, in comparison, I need to say that the healthcare in Belgium, it's at a higher level. Okay, so first, as on the case of the UK, Spain, Portugal, for instance, all of them are socially supported by the state. But on the case of Belgium, Belgium has a kind of a hybrid system. Okay, a part private, part public, and essentially need to be within a mutualiteit, okay, a mutua. And on the back of that, of course, you need to be registered, you need to be a citizen, of course, being an expat, a foreigner, or a local, okay, for you to order to have access to the healthcare system that is essentially, as I mentioned, for free. And a brilliant part on this is that actually you immediately have access to specialists, which allows to fast track the entire process, and that's brilliant. Okay, then the other thing that I would underline in terms of the healthcare, I'm gonna give you my personal example. So my child was actually born in Belgium. Okay, thank you very much, and I had the most amazing experience. Not just looking at the level of the medical personnel, but actually aside from that, also the infrastructure. The hospital was top. I was lucky enough to actually to have the possibility to spend some time with my child still at the hospital, but and with also my partner within a specific, let's say, apartment or flat or space within the hospital that I have for all of the people that actually are recovering after giving birth. Okay, and the place was just top. You had one specific division just for the child, another one for the mother, and I also myself, I was able actually to stay there during one of the nights, because there were a bit more of complications, but at the end everything sorted out, and I could actually taste the food on the following day. Okay, the food is also top, so I highly recommend the Belgium healthcare for all the reasons that I mentioned and beyond. Okay, then the last point, multiculturalism. Why is this important? Because if you are coming from abroad, most likely would like to actually to have the possibility to touch different types of cultures, but also to feel better, let's say, how to say it, like part of the community. Okay, I will not deny that Belgium is passing through, let's say, for a few years now, a bit of a problem with regards to expats and foreigners. Okay, but either way, it's still a multicultural place. Okay, to start from, you have three different cultures. Okay. And with their respective languages. So you have the Walloon that are roughly 40% of the population, so down south, and then up north you have the Flemish that essentially are the Dutch speaking part of Belgium, that is roughly 60%, give or take, and have Germany or the Germans, let's say, that are roughly 30,000 people, very small community, let's say, but still there. And then apart from that, of course, you have people coming from different parts of the world and from Europe as well. So, and if you look at Brussels, it's essentially the only part, I would dare to say, that is actually multilingual, in the sense that there you will find people that actually speak French and speak Dutch, while on the case of the Flemish part or the French part, it will be a bit more difficult. Most likely going to just find French speaking or just Dutch speaking. Okay, so you need to have that into concern, or Flemish speaking, because essentially it's the same language with a different accent. It's Dutch. Okay, so looking into that, then you will find that those communities as well, but also you're gonna find different languages, almost like spin-offs, let's say, of Dutch or French across the different regions of Belgium, West Flanders, etc. You're gonna find different types of accents and also even languages. But one thing that I would say that also important, going back to, for instance, Brussels, you will find Italians, Moroccan, people coming from different nationalities, but also please be mindful that there is the core and heart of the European Union. So therefore, you're going to find loads of people coming from different sides of Europe, let's say, that are then working and living in Brussels on the different European, let's say, institutions that you're going to find in Brussels. Okay, so those are then the 3 points that I would highly underline with regards to reason number 2. Okay, so stick around for reason number 3. So let's then go and dive into reason number 3. Okay, so let's talk about food, beer, and chocolates. Most people say that there is not a point of actually going into a country and work if you actually don't have good food. Okay, so this is actually the case of Belgium. Aside of actually having a very strong job market, you also have very good food. Some examples of it, for instance, you have, for instance, the moule frite, you have the amazing French fries. Not really. Never actually say French fries. They are Belgian fries, okay? Actually, I would say better than the French fries. Some people will hate me for this, but they're actually really good. Okay, aside from that, it's the Belgian cuisine is very creative. You're gonna find loads of very good restaurants across the block, and also a lot of Michelin star restaurants. Okay, then of course, if you are having a very good meal, you need to go with a very good drink. On this case, we are talking about beer. Okay, so Belgium has, for me, on my view, the best beer across the globe, full stop. Okay, so they have roughly 1,000 beers, okay, different brands. I remember once when I was at Bruges, I went into this bar and you could see at the wall all the beer brands in Belgium, roughly 1,000. Maybe there are more now, I don't know, but yeah, for sure 1,000. Okay, so aside from that, another good indication of how good are the beers is actually the Trappist beers. Okay, so around the globe we have roughly 14. Okay, from those 14, actually 6 are Belgium. Okay, so we are talking about Orval, we are talking about Chimay, Roquefort. So there are more. Okay, so the Belgian beers are really top notch. Okay, and then of course, if you are closing your meal, you're gonna have a good chocolate. Okay, I'm not gonna be spending my time talking about or investing my time talking about Belgian chocolates. What I would say to you, they are very good. Just go to Belgium and give it a try. Okay, and that's it, my friends, for reason number 3. Let's go then into reason number 4. So stick around. So let's go deeper then into this reason. Reason number 4 is all about housing. Everyone knows how important it is for you to actually to find a place where you are relaxed, where you feel comfortable, where you are able actually to recharge yourself so that you can actually be at your top level when you are going to work. Okay, so this is the case actually of Belgium. And why? My friends, it's actually almost impossible, I would say, to have a better relationship between price point and quality. Okay, in Belgium you're going to come across houses that are very diverse, very creative, but are actually quite large, okay, in comparison to most countries. But then on the flip side, you're going to have actually the price point that actually is lower than most countries in Europe, at least to Western countries. Okay, so I'm going to give you a concrete example of that. Okay, so for instance, I used to live in Belgium, and there I was actually at a house that was with 3 stores. Okay, so there I was paying less. Okay, and I was at a big city. I was paying less than I was paying, for instance, in Barcelona for a flat. Okay, not a house, a flat of 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. Okay, that's how big of a difference you have in comparison, like for instance housing in Spain in comparison to housing in Belgium. Okay, so that is one very good reason for you to pack your bags and just go for it and go to Belgium. Okay, so stick around for reason number 5. So in order to close this, let's then talk about reason number 5. So reason number 5 is all about location, and on this case specifically speaking, Belgium as a top-notch location. So in the heart of Europe, you could not get better. Okay, so easy to access to any of the surrounding countries. So we are talking about the Netherlands, we are talking about France, we are talking about Luxembourg. Everything is quite easy to access. In less than 2 hours, let's say, you are in any of those countries, and of course France as well. Okay, so then on top of that, I would say that, for instance, aside from the car, you can actually use the fast train. Okay, you have access via fast train. I used to use a lot from Antwerp up to Amsterdam, okay, where I used to work. So give or take, it takes roughly 1 hour. Okay, more or less. Okay, so it used to be roughly between 100 to 120 euros a ticket. So I'm not sure what should be the price point right now, but I'm guessing should not be far off. Okay, aside from that, what I would actually say to you guys is that even looking at the plane distance, of course, Belgium is also top notch. Okay, so because it's in the center of Europe, you can actually reach the northern countries, also south of Europe, even any of the central European countries there, in a max of 3 to 4 hours. You reach all of those. Okay, which is actually quite good. Of course, it's a premium situation. Okay, so that is one of the reasons why I would say that Belgium is one of the best places to live. And it's, of course, this is one of the top 5 reasons that, in combination with everything else that I mentioned, makes a really tremendous package. Okay, so to close, stick around. We're gonna have then the bonus track. So let's close then with the bonus track. And then just to say this is really interesting. So some fun facts around Belgium. So to start from, Belgium is the country that actually holds the record of the country without a government for longer. So 589 days without a government. So take that as a fun fact. So on top of that, actually Zaventem Airport is the place in the globe that actually sells more chocolate. Okay. Also, Robert Caillot was the co-inventor of the internet and is Belgium. Okay, so also, and to close, one thing that I actually find quite interesting is around the Erasmus. Okay, so Belgium is actually a country that allows for you to do the Erasmus inside its own country. So imagine you actually living in the north part, okay, in the Flanders, okay, and you can actually go to the French side and actually do the Erasmus. Take that for a fun fact as well. Okay, I think it's quite actually handy. Okay, so this actually wraps up the fun facts around Belgium. Okay, thank you once more. Okay, join me on this journey. Subscribe. Take care. Peace.